Go.
All right, welcome, film fans. This is Cinema Stinger here, and I'm joined by my good buddy.
My name Hill Street Views, aka Sean Hill.
And today we're going to be discussing our worst films, worst films of the year so far. And I gotta say, it's been I had about 30, 40 films on this list, so it should be definitely an interesting show. So.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think you're more of a critic than I am. I'm a little lenient. I have a different way of evaluating the films. I didn't have that many films on my worst list to choose from, but let's give a little background. We're San Diego based film critics. We review a lot of films. Sometimes we see a lot of them actually together. We do discuss the films after we see them. We check out each other's reviews. However, we have not discussed this list, so we don't know. I have a general idea of what some of his worst films are, but I don't know where they rank, and probably vice versa. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with number 10, starring Miss J Lo in The Boy Next Door. She plays a recently separated high school English lit teacher. She's slowly trying to get back into the dating world and raise her son. Things get a little complicated when she meets Noah, the 19-year-old nephew of her elderly ill neighbor. He starts to get attracted to her. One night over wine and dinner with him, she gets a little tipsy. She gives in to temptation. And then from there, the movie just falls on its ass and becomes a Fatal Attraction clone. This movie almost makes it into the guilty pleasure category, but it just it just got so ridiculous that I couldn't even say, okay, if you want to watch it, if you want to have campy fun, then watch it. This movie is aiming for sincerity. Had it been kind of aiming for camp or not taking itself so seriously, I would have given it a pass. But after a while, you still have to, if you're going to be serious, you still have to make plausibility. There is one scene in this movie that is so implausible that I just said, to hell with it. This movie sucks. It's the scene, and you remember this scene, I'm sure, where Noah has put all these pictures in her classroom.
Yeah.
Like hundreds and hundreds of pictures. Her principal's trying to get in the room. Her students are trying to get in the room. She's locked the classroom. And somehow within the span of maybe a couple of minutes, she's able to not only pick up every piece of paper that's in the room, but dispose of them. Like they're totally hidden somewhere. No way. No way. So, I mean, this thing ran 91 minutes, and it felt like an eternity. Yeah. Boy Next Door, number 10 on my list. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I gotta agree that that movie was pretty bad, but there is a movie that is a little worse than that, and that'll come a little bit later on my list. But for my number 10, and you're probably gonna hate me, and the rest of the world's gonna hate me, but I'm putting Jurassic World as number 10. Now, okay, so this movie obviously acknowledges the events of the previous film. So why in the world would anybody want to go visit this damn place? I sure as hell wouldn't want to go. If I know that dinosaurs attacked and destroyed people last time, why in the world would you go?
Okay,
That's part of the problem.
Let me address that.
Go ahead.
What color are you?
I'm African American, man. I'm a brother.
Okay, that answers your question right there. Go ahead.
Guess that makes sense. And another thing I didn't get is, Bryce Dallas Howard's character. She's supposed to be the facility manager. She doesn't know anything about any of her, dinosaurs and stuff. How in the hell can you be in charge of a company and you don't know what the hell is going on with your products? That to me made zero sense. And of course, it gets worse than that. When the little brothers go and a dinosaur with I guess the Dominus Rex finally escapes and they're on the gyrosphere ride. All of a sudden, the ride, it's emergency shutdown. Why in the world does this thing? They have full control of this vehicle. What kind of safety precaution allows you to get full control of a vehicle. I didn't understand that. And of course, they travel in the little woods. Of course, they meet the Domus Rex, da 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 da. And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" This movie, I was rooting for the Domus Rex the whole time. This guy was the smartest person the whole entire movie. He was stealthy as Batman. I don't know how he was getting around, but I thought the Domus Rex, every time he kept killing people, I was so rooty for him because he's the smartest person in the whole film. So I mean, and of course they're doing a sequel. Of course, I mean money, money sells. But I just don't fathom how people like this movie. To me, it made zero logical sense. But of course, good visuals. But it's 2015. Visuals are what we expect. So I give Jurassic World. Sorry, everybody, but Jurassic World has gotten is number 10 on my list. So.
See, all right. So here's ladies and gentlemen, where we disagree as critics. Now, you're willing to accept the premise that we can have dinosaurs, right? So
of course,
if you already are accepting that premise, then and I disagree with some of the logical gaps that you have, then you got to be willing to accept pretty much everything else that happens in the movie. Yeah, there's like she walks around in heels the whole movie. All right, that doesn't make any sense, but right. I mean, it's a movie. I didn't hate it. I actually liked it. I think part of it was nostalgic because there were a lot of callbacks to the original film, and it finally got Jurassic Park right. I did actually like the aspect of the park. I thought that was a cool realization of what the first movie had imagined, and then it brought it to life. I'll just say this: it's not on my best list. It didn't exceed my expectations. I went in thinking it was going to be good. It was good, so I got what I expected. So nothing more, nothing less. With that, we'll move on to our number 9 for me. My number 9 is going to be Hot Pursuit, which is essentially, it's a buddy cop movie, but it does nothing to elevate the buddy cop movie to any new stratosphere. It stars Reese Witherspoon, Sofia Vergara, of course. Just those names alone, they're opposites, so there are going to be a lot of jokes about how they look. And one of the biggest problems I have with this movie, and I won't even get into the plot because it's non-consequential. Sofia Vergara is essentially playing her Modern Family character. So this movie wasn't even. There's no stretch. There's no acting chops required. It's basically a TV actor accepting a role that can fit into between her shooting schedule on her show. There are a few jokes here and there that are funny. I mean, and these are jokes you would expect with two women. You've got period jokes, lesbian jokes. Of course, you got jokes about Sofia Vergara's twins, as I like to call them. I mean, I laughed a few times, but not enough to say, "Whoa, this is a great movie." This movie ran 80 minutes. Paper thin script. I'm trying to remember something else worthwhile about it other than looking at Sofia Vergara for 80 minutes, and that's all I got. So, number 9 for me, Hot Pursuit.
Yes, that's actually, somewhere listed on my list as well. So, and I agree pretty much with everything you said. It was, buddy cop movies, as you and I noticed, they haven't been the greatest of late. And this is just another one that you could put on the stinker pile. And I think it did bomb, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the rest of the world does agree.
Well, the thing is that if you want to see Sofia Vergara and act like that, you can just stay home and watch Modern Family.
Right.
And Reese Witherspoon is not a big box office draw, and so I can, if it did flop, you keep up with the numbers, I don't, but I can see why it flopped. I mean, I don't even think it really got a really big reaction while we were watching it. So, but yeah, so Hot Pursuit.
All right, so my number 9 is The Perfect Guy. And which, first of all, we know that word doesn't even exist. No, it's just something as a perfect guy. So that should be error number 1. But I'm not sure if you've seen this one, but it's pretty much a glorified, Lifetime movie. It's kind of a background on it. You have Sanaa Lathan. I guess she's a lobbyist. She's dating Morris Chestnut, and she wants kids. He has one kids. They break up, and of course she meets a light skinned brother played by Michael Ealy's character, and from there, of course, it's all blissful. He's doing all the right things. He's doing that, da 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 da, and of course, one day he completely snaps. He becomes stalkerish, da 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 da, and obviously, the typical stalkerish movies. Of course, he has to be an IT guy, so that's not, that's nothing new. And I mean, I thought the movie really, it's hour and 40 minutes. It easily could have been 40 minutes if there was one crucial element that she would have realized the entire film, which I won't spoil. But this movie was, I mean, I like Sanaa Lathan a lot. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I went to watch it. And it didn't screen for a reason, just like most Screen Gems films haven't screened of late. And this is a complete stinker. Nothing more, like I said, in a Lifetime movie, and it's really nothing promising about it. So
okay, I did not see this one. It didn't screen, but I want to touch upon a couple of things that you did say. As far as it not screening, we know as critics that's a red flag. That's a big red flag. If the studio doesn't think enough of it to let us critics see the film, then that's probably a bad sign. Now, I believe this movie opened very well. I think it may have opened number 1 and number 2.
yeah,
That says, I'm going to get hate mail for this, so go ahead and send your hate mail to me. Black women is what did push the success of this film, and they will go see anything that has quote unquote hot black guys in it, regardless of if the movie's any good. They will go, and they'll go in droves, which I mean I guess that's good. I mean, at least quote unquote support black cinema, but
right.
support good black cinema. Just don't go see a movie because black people in it. I mean, Who's Your Caddy? That all the Medea films, whatnot. So, I'm actually surprised. I mean, I know why you went, but I'm actually surprised that you even wasted the time to go see this on your own, knowing that it was going to be bad. But
Yep, you know me. Sanaa Lathan's the reason why I went. So you know me. I'm not. I go for a pretty girl will get me to go to any movie.
See, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem now.
But here's the thing: I had a free movie pass, so that's the difference.
Oh yes, yeah. You didn't contribute to the box office. All right, so moving on. Number 8 on my list, and I think we saw this one together. Terminator Genesis. I'm not a sci-fi guy, but I'm a big Terminator fan. So I went into this hopeful but apprehensive. I was apprehensive. I was hopeful when I saw the trailer. I was like, okay, they look like they're going to try to do something here. But then the rating came out. PG-13. Okay, here we go. So that's going to tell me a couple of things. They're going to tone down the violence, and not saying you need language in a film, but they're going to tone down the language. So, and those are two of the things that the Terminator films definitely had in the past. So we go in, and then we've got casting issues. I personally do not like Jason Clarke. I hate Jai Courtney. So, and you've got those two guys cast as two of the pivotal roles. Jason Clarke as John Connor, and Jai Courtney as Kyle Reese. Now, I would say the first maybe half hour of the film is actually enjoyable because they do a lot of callbacks to the original Terminator. We get to see Arnold go back in time, and he's facing off with his 84 Terminator persona. But after that, I think the movie just becomes bogged down in its plot, whereas the original, both Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, they were just balls out action. It was all about action. Although, albeit Terminator 2 did get a little, it got word heavy, but not plot heavy. This one is just so much plot going on that I won't even get into it. It was just a big disappointment. I mean, basically, I said in my review that this was like one of those K-Tel greatest hits commercial, compilations. Oh, you saw Terminator? Well, it's all here. We've got the Terminator from T2. We've got this. We've got that. And so I just didn't like the film. I didn't like the leads. Arnold, I'm sorry, man. You're getting past your prime. This was just a big waste of time. Avoid it. Just go back and watch the originals. So go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not, PG-13 rating obviously was a huge turnoff, and I know it wasn't a part of the plot, like towards the end where they kind of what they revealed kind of makes the other movies not make any sense, right? Isn't that kind of
yeah.
So it's like the other movies that were good are those non-existent now? Because you're trying to, make this, this big plot twist or reveal, and it just made the movie even worse. Because
we can say we can say it involves which Star Trek, the first the reboot of Star Trek, they did an altered timeline, so
right.
And it involves time travel. So I mean, they could do that, yes, but again, as you said, it kind of negates all the other films that have happened in the hopes that this film would revitalize the franchise, which it didn't, and we can move on to more installments. There's no more story here to tell. It's Skynet goes. Why don't Skynet send a Terminator back to say 1775, right?
Right.
Where there's no advanced weaponry, no telephone, all that stuff, and then wipe out Sarah Connor lineage that far. Why do we keep going? Why do we keep going back to 1984? It makes no sense.
Because Arnold wanted money. Yeah, I definitely. I totally forgot even put this movie in my list. Period. That's how much I totally just forgot about this movie. I read it off completely. So, yeah, I mean, I totally just forgot this movie even existed.
It's forgettable. It's forgettable. All right, what's your number 8?
All right, my number 8, which we already discussed, is Hot Pursuit. So there's nothing more really to add to that. But yeah, like we're saying, the whole buddy cop thing between Ride Along, which God forbid they're doing a sequel for that. There's been nothing really recently since Training Day into watch, like a good buddy cop film. They're trying this whole opposite thing, and I don't like the whole opposite thing. I think it makes it predictable. And like I said, I like Reese Witherspoon. She was awesome and wild, and to go from wild to this was just heartbreaking. But I mean, I guess like I said, what we always say, send us your scripts. We can revise it. We can give you some casting decisions. And then in that case, they didn't take our advice in this case, and what they got was abomination on screen, as I like to call it. So.
Well, one thing about the buddy cop genre, it can be done. It can be done well, even though it is formula. I mean, let's be clear about that. It's formula, but you can do formula well. Let's look at let's take the other guys, the Will Ferrell.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. It was formula. I mean, you've got the polar opposites. They meet each other, they hate each other. They're first forced to work together. I mean, that's formula. What made that film work is that they were funny guys, and they had funny script. They had a funny script to work from, even with it being formula all the way around it. You've got at least they had material to work with. So if you take formula, but if you just rely on just that formula, then yeah, you're gonna have a bad movie. All right, so kind of along those same lines with my number 7 would be Spy. The would-be comedy starring Melissa McCarthy, Jude Law, and God help him, Jason Statham. Please do not ever sign yourself up to do a comedy again. The biggest problem with Spy is that it tries to straddle the line between comedy, spoof, satire, action, and it does none of them well. I mean, none of them. I mean, it's essentially a James Bond spoof. James Bond meets 24, and they even had a James Bond like title sequence, but the laughs just aren't there. The laughs do not come from characters; they come from actors via improv. Melissa McCarthy, I would bet that she improved a lot of her stuff, and she's a funny gal. She's a funny lady, but if you don't have the at least a basis of a script to work from, all the improv in the world is not going to save you. I'll give you an example. Bill Murray to me is the funniest guy in movies, I think. But you take a bad sequel like Ghostbusters 2, that even him with all of his comedic genius, no improv in the world could save that script. Why? Because the story itself was bad. So trying to save it via funny quips, it's just not going to cut it. So, and then like I said, with it being trying to be a comedy, and trying to be a spoof, and trying to be a satire, and trying to actually have some legitimate action scenes, it's too much. It just didn't work. It was too long. What is her name? Rose Byrne, I think's her name. I think we both like her. I think you like her a little bit more than I do, but I mean, we both have seen her in stuff that we like, Insidious and some other things. And here she looked like she wasn't having a good time with what she was doing. She looked annoyed half the time, and I don't know if you got that from her from watching it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely did. Yeah.
So yeah, and again, she's a funny lady, Melissa McCarthy, but her shtick is getting old. It's getting old. It's getting tired. And she can do decent work. St. Vincent, she was great in that. She wasn't required to be, Melissa McCarthy. Seeing this film, knowing that this film is directed by Paul Feig, I think is his name. He's doing the new Ghostbusters, which I weep now knowing that I hope that he doesn't do to Ghostbusters what he did to this movie. So that's my number 7, Spy.
Wow, so there's a lot of people going to be mad at you. That movie got currently a 93% of Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't understand either why it's getting such high praise. Like I said, Melissa McCartney to me is also like Kevin Hart in movies. There's too many Melissa McCartney moments, and where she tried to be, forceful with the comedy,
right,
and
yeah.
She kept insulting the guy like, oh, something about a dick or whatever. Like the one, her Rose Byrne's, her sister, or whatever, kept insulting him. And the first time I get it, but they just kept trying to hammer home and be forceful, and that didn't work. And of course, Statham, I don't know what he was trying to be way too funny. None of his, because he's such a serious guy. So if he says something, you're not going to take it seriously. He just looks like a fool when he was saying like I don't know what he was talking about. I drove here, cut off my own leg or something like that. I don't even remember what it was. But
I get Jason Statham in the movie as far as spoofing himself. I get it. It just didn't work. It just didn't work. So I mean, those little quips are kind of like those. I know those Chuck Norris memes and things on internet and Twitter.
Right.
So that's. I mean, I get that, but it just didn't work. And they should have seen that he wasn't working, and that role wasn't working, and you really didn't even need that role. So why was it? I don't know.
Right. The good thing about it is I like how they did put Melissa McCartney, in the leading role, because most of these action movies, they kind of have, a slimmer, physique person, especially a female. So it was nice to, have her, which is a, bigger lady, in this kind of role. So I did like how they did that. And I think overall, the presentation was good. That she did, and I think it is nice, like I said, to see, her, getting this kind of role, and I think it just shows, of course, it's always a public image problem, so it was nice to see her, in this action role, and hopefully it transitions, to Ghostbusters as well, because they have a pretty unique, diverse cast as well, so I'm glad to see that we're getting more women, in action roles that are of a diverse, skin color and body types and stuff like that. So it gives, not hope, but it just gives kind of a, younger, people growing up, girls that are like, hey, I can do this and I can do that, So I do like that aspect of the film. So I think I'll give it partial ratings, kind of just because of the presentation of McCartney's character. So
Huh. Okay. Well, is this our first disagreement? So it's not on your list.
yeah, it's not on my list. No, it's not on my list or the best. But I just think I
Okay.
saw value in that enough to not put it on the worst list.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
see potential, but it happens. We're all
No, no, no.
all-
I'm just surprised because I know how you are about comedy and dumb
right.
comedy, and this was a dumb comedy. So okay, interesting, interesting. Okay, what's your number seven?
My number seven, I believe this is probably on your list too, is Chappie. Now, Chappie. When I first saw the trailer, I was like, "Man, this is gonna be sick, man." A robot that's kicking ass and shit. Better, probably what better RoboCop was supposed to be. Oh man, they really got you on the trailer on this one. This movie was, I mean, it starts off good premise, of course, and but what I don't get is when Dion, why does he leave, Chappie with these little gangsters? What is he expecting to teach him? Not going to teach him, math or not going to teach him anything good. So I don't see why he just willy nilly. Like, I guess it was forced to leave him there, but I would put more like, hey, I want to take him home and stuff like that, and because that majority of that film is, of course, him, trying to be a gangster, and it just didn't work at all. And of course, in Hugh Jackman's little mullet or whatever, and his little shorts he had on, I mean, hit that character really didn't fit him very well. And sad because the director Neil Blomkamp, he's done Area 51, Elysium, two really good science fiction films. So to kind of go from that to this is a huge digression, and kind of gets me worried for Alien now that he's supposed to do. If this is kind of where he's going. But yeah, Chappie just was not a good film. Only good scene I think you probably agree is when poor Chappie was abused and by those kids. That was kind of a heartbreaking scene. When he's getting got set on fire by the kids. So I thought if they had kind of more moments like that, the film probably would have had more of an effect. But overall, the whole gangster thing just did not work, and unfortunately that ruined the whole entire film for me.
Okay, I hated Chappie with a passion. Chappie is on my list. I won't reveal where it is, but probably with me saying that, you should probably get an idea of where it is located. I found this film not only be not good, I found it to be morally offensive to me, at least. Chappie is a robot who is raised by these gangsters. Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's say the film is set in South Africa. Neil Blomkamp is South African, so I respect him for making films and setting films in his native land. That's great. But these gangsters that Chappie is befriended by are white, but they are appropriating black culture, and the things that they are teaching him how to be tough and how to be this are stereotypical way that white people think that black people act and talk when they're in gangster movies and in the thugged out videos and all of that. The fact, if it had been played as a comedy, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I missed it. I didn't see it being played as comedy. I saw it being played as quote unquote keeping it real, right?
Right.
And it was I hate to say this, but it was Soul Man. I hate to go that far back, but it was a robotic Soul Man, and every time Chappie would do something, gangsterish, carjacking and this and that, and I was offended. I really was offended, and as a film critic, I really don't, and I shouldn't have that kind of emotion. I guess maybe that was the me coming out and not the critic, but I really just found it an unpleasant experience to watch. I honestly, I mean, Chappie sporting the gold chains and talking jive. I mean, excuse me, almost like the robots in Transformers too, the two giant robots. Um, there was a good opening scene and a good closing scene, but everything is in the middle. I just despise. It was again. It took itself far too seriously to be considered camp. So yeah, yeah, just chappy. Not for me. But I'm surprised it's that high up, or I guess low up on your list. But I mean, again, difference of opinion. I just found it offensive. So, all right, so
Fair enough.
yeah, all right. So, speaking of finding offensive, I'm pretty sure you're going to find my number 6 worst film of the year offensive. This will probably be the lengthy debate on the show here. So, if I said the word, or if I say the names, Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Johnny Storm, and Sue Storm, collectively known as the Fantastic Four, is number 6 on my list of the worst films of 2015.
Breaking my heart, Sean. Breaking my heart.
Well, let me say this. In all fairness to the film, I did recently see it a second time. My daughter and wife and daughter did not attend the screening. Why? Because the studio didn't want us to bring anybody. They were like, "No, it's bad enough we gotta let the critics see it. We can't have you bring in your family and friends." So I recently watched it again, and albeit I thought it was better the second time around, it went from like a 1 star to a 1.2 star.
Oh, why? He's just going up.
I won't go into what the movie's about because I think most people probably know. I think the biggest problem with this movie, and I think a lot of people had, I know you've defended it, is that nothing happens in this movie. And who's the director? Josh Trank, right?
Josh Trank, yes.
Josh Trank has taken a lot of heat for this movie, and he's kind of gotten defensive about it. And I somewhat defend him, but I also say it's still on you, sir, because your name is above the title. I'm going to wager a guess, and I'm going to estimate that at least an hour of footage lies somewhere at who is this? Fox? This is Fox Film?
Fox. Yes.
Fox. Somewhere at 20th Century Fox, there's an hour of footage, maybe more, of this film that for whatever reason they edited out and decided, let's just go bare bones with this. I felt like I was watching a commercial for the sequel, essentially. I mean, this movie runs an hour and a half. I don't even think it's that long, honestly. And it just seems like we're missing so much stuff. And I went back and actually looked at the trailer, and I would say about 80% of the trailer isn't in the movie. And I know that happens from time to time, but I mean, that gives me further evidence that there's a whole movie sitting somewhere. We go from them finding out that they have powers, or finding out that they've been mutilated or whatever, to them using their powers. Okay? Now, we talked about formula, and we talked about that in Hot Pursuit. Where are the scenes of them struggling with learning to use them? Where are the scenes with them coming to acceptance of who they are and what they become? Where are these scenes at? I mean, it's just... And the bad guy, Victor Von
Doom, yes.
He's forgotten about. I mean, I typically don't spoil stuff, but his character appears at the end, but there's no explanation as to how he became what he became and his thought process for why he wants to destroy the Earth. I guess I understand it. Yeah, he's been stuck on this planet for how long, but why does he want doom to Earth? It just doesn't make any sense. It just so I say that this is as presented, this is a bad film because again, there's so much missing that I have more questions than answers. I felt that there was nothing to root for with these characters because we really don't get to know them before the accident, during the accident, and after the accident. So, the way I recommend this movie, I say see it when the sequel comes out, because or see it when it comes out on DVD, because I'm going to bet the ranch that there's going to be an expanded edition that's going to be a lot better than this. The floor is yours, sir, because I know we disagree.
Yeah, well, probably in the 0.1111 or per 1% of people who actually like this film. I actually gave this film an A, surprisingly.
Yes.
Well, a lot of people are like, what? The movie was bad. Now, here's the thing about Fantastic Four, that a lot of people don't get is Fantastic Four is really a very hard comic book movie to adapt on screen. This is a science fiction film with superhero, parts blended into it, and I think if you go in knowing that, I think it will make the film, more enjoyable. The previous Fantastic Fours I thought were bad. They weren't very sciencey, and Fantastic Four has, if you read in the comics, they have they have all the most scientifical aspects and notions in it. So it's science fiction first, superhero movie second, and I also support it because a lot of people were complaining that Johnny Storm is black, and Kay Mara that they're not the same race as opposed to that they normally are. Which I mean I'm cool with that. I mean the characters, superheroes don't have to be black, white. They never said there's only a few that need to be a specific race. I mean Black Panther's one of them. He's probably the only one.
Let me just say that's the least of this film's problems is the casting of Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm. But go ahead.
Right. I'll just say, and I think a lot of people went in already like hating it because of that, and like I said, I mean, of course, you mentioned that, where's all these scenes at with them, struggling with their powers and stuff like that. The movie is more focused on, it's more centered about if the government, if this kind of stuff happened, it's more about how the government is trying to, regulate, these people's powers. And I think in this century now, if something like this was to happen, that's kind of how we'll break down. Is the government wants to always control every aspect of what we do and what we don't know. And I think the film was trying to just more look at the societal effects of the Reed Richards and all them versus them struggling themselves with the powers, and so I think that's kind of how you gotta look into it. But I mean, I thought it was actually pretty well written. Like I said, of course, the only fight scene could have been better, of course, and Von Doom was terribly drawn up. That's my favorite Marvel villain, so I was very like, what the heck is that on screen, But I mean, I think the film just. It needed a few things, of course, but I think a sequel. I'm glad it did get a sequel. I think the sequel will do a lot better. I think it's going to, address a lot of the issues that everyone had, because now by the end we know they own up to these powers now. So the second one's going to be them probably more working together as a team, actually being the Fantastic Four. Now that the government is kind of, on their side or whatever. But I think it's, I think it was a good film. Like I said, it wasn't perfect, but I think it's the best Fantastic Four film so far, and people want to come at me, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, of course, we do disagree, and you're not the only one. I got a lot of heat for giving this an A.
Hey, well,
I enjoyed it.
Let me touch on one thing that you said about it being about the government and all of that. And again, see, I got that from the movie. I honestly did. But the problem is that you still want to know more about the four of them. I mean, I get that they tested on them for like a year or something like that, and even that seemed truncated. It just, everything in the movie just seemed like it was truncated. And again, that was the problem that I and a lot of people had, was that it was like Cliff Notes. It was like they just felt like, okay, this isn't important enough, and again, I don't know who's to blame. Is it Trank? Is it the studio? I would say the studio more than Trank, because most of these superhero movies are directed by committee, so I'm sure he didn't have final say. But if he felt bad enough, or about the finished product, he should remove his name from the credits, which directors do all the time. So I still although I empathize with Trank with his work being tampered with, I still got to say, well, you're still co-signing it.
Right.
You're still saying, hey, I directed this, but when you didn't. And again, maybe it has something to do with DVD. I don't know if there's going to be a special edition. There has to be a special edition of this film. There is footage that's missing, and we need that footage. So, all right, sir, what's your number 6?
My number 6 is a film I don't think you saw, American Ultra. Did you see that one?
Yeah, we were together.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah, so American Ultra, I don't know where to begin with this. Maybe because, I don't indulge in, drugs, so maybe I can relate to being stoned. I don't know. However, this movie was, prior to this, I was defending Kristen Stewart. I used to be a Kristen Stewart hater. I saw a lot of films recently by her. I'm like, hey, she is really good actress. This, however, was not a good selling point for people to me to vouch for her. It wasn't her fault. When you're given nothing, you got to do the best you can. And I just don't know why this movie was even made. It's Jesse Eisenberg. Thank God you're playing Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman, because this movie was just one you can just scratch off your list. And like I said, I don't know. Like I said, what for people who don't know. This guy Mike, he's a stoner or whatever, and now the CIA, CIA is after him or something like that, and he gets activated, as they used in the movie, and he comes into this mild-mannered killing machine, and if that sounds bad, it's just as bad as it is on screen. So it's just him getting chased by a whole bunch of people and killing them, and it's just completely over the top, and I just don't know, the writer Max Landis. I don't know what you were on when you made this film, and but yeah, this movie was absolute piece of shit. And I'm sorry, Kristen Stewart. I still have respect for you, but this was not your best effort at all.
Huh. Well, what's funny? American Ultra is number 5 on my list, so we can just go on and go right to that, and I'll pretty much co-sign everything that you said. This movie, and I hate to use the pun, but it was brain dead. It was ridiculous. Now, I have a patent phrase that I like to use sometimes. Sometimes I call films ridiculously entertaining, meaning that just that. It may be ridiculous, but I'm still entertained by it. I think we had a disagreement on Lucy from last year. Now, it was a bad movie, but it was so ridiculous that I was so entertained by how ridiculous it was. Right? It was so preposterous. It was so, oh, come on. It just had so many of those moments. But the fact that it started that way, right, and ended that way, so it was ridiculous the entire time. And I'm like, if a movie has the balls to at least start ridiculous and set its tone and stay consistent the entire time, I'm gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna give you credit for that. Now let me back up and say that film was not on my best list, and it definitely wasn't on my worst list. I acknowledged it for what it was. But this film, American Ultra, is as Cheech and Chong meets Lucy, or meets Bourne, right? But it even has a few moments of stoner humor at the beginning of the film that provides a chuckle or two. But once the plot actually kicks in, there are so many questions that I ended up just giving up on the film, because if they don't care to tell me, I'm not going to try to figure out why was he activated? Why was he picked to be a spy in the first place? What was the reason for them trying to kill them once they activate? There's no explanation for anything, right? And the film tried to mix dark humor and ultra violence, and it just didn't work. It can be done. Pulp Fiction comes to mind, but yeah, this film stinks. However, I will not blame the actors for this mess. I won't blame Eisenberg and Stewart. Yes, thank you, because they worked together in A Vigilante, a film which I really, really liked. So
Yeah.
Uh, I would say if this is playing on Netflix or USA or whatever, and I'm talking about Adventureland, see that. Totally avoid Adventureland or American Ultra. Um, it is a truly a stinker. Finally, I think we somewhat agree in our discuss for that film. So, sir, what is your number five?
My number five movie is Get Hard. Uh, I mean, as you know, I'm not a huge Kevin Hart fan. Movies, they're all the same, and this movie has several, as I call, Kevin Hart moments. One in particular is when they're in the little tennis court and he's playing like multiple characters. That I mean, that to me, I mean, the problem with Kevin Hart for me is he always tries to be. He gets super loud. He just gets all over the topish all the time. And for what reason? I mean, he's a naturally funny guy, and I don't think he needs to be that over the topish. And I also found this movie kind of offensive as well. Because James, Will Ferrell's character, is high, rich white guy, whatever, assumes that Darnell, Kevin Hart's character, went to prison because he's black. And obviously, I mean, I know that it's supposed to be a comedy, but I just found it offensive, that he, assumed that he was, and it's just the movie. Yeah, the movie just was not. I mean, they did a pretty good role together. I mean, they kind of bounced off each other pretty well, but I just found the movie to be offensive, not very funny at all, and it kind of dragged more than it should, and when James, or I forgot his little gang name, when he came into the Crenshaw Kings or whatever, but that was like really, like, come on, really, it just made a mockery of the whole black culture, I thought, and yeah, it just was not not a very good film. I know a lot of people like this. I don't see why they like this movie, but yeah. So I think you didn't like it either, if I'm correct, right?
You are correct. I did not like it. However, it did not make my list just because there were just 10 films that I found worse. But I pretty much agree and echo with everything that you said. This is again another buddy comedy thing, but for me it was too many gay jokes. It was just too many anal sex, blow job jokes, and then you had the racial component, which I get it. I understand that should kind of be part of the humor, but after a while, it got ridiculous, and it didn't start out that way. And the whole climax thing on the boat and all of that was just stupid. And Will Ferrell is a funny guy. He commits himself to his characters, but as you said, when he goes to Darnell, I think that was his name, Darnell's or Kevin Hart's, his neighborhood, and he's got the dressed up, and I think he had the cornrows and all that, or at least that was on the poster. Yeah, this was better than Ride Along. I mean, that's probably not saying much, but yeah, I agree with you. It's a bad movie. All right, so moving on to number four. My number four. I know I didn't see this in the theaters. I actually saw this at home, so I don't know if you actually saw this one. I believe you did. The Lazarus Effect.
Oh man, oh that's good. Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Okay. So this I didn't write a review on this one because I just have a rule. Once they come out, I don't actually review them, so I don't have much in the way of notes. I just remember that the plot involves some medical researchers who were developing a serum, and they were able to bring the dead back to life. I don't know. There's nothing worse than sitting through a film that is supposed to provide thrills and chills, but only provides boredom. Instead of taking the time to produce legitimate scares, it goes the safe route. They do the horror film cliches that hopefully film goers, not only film critics, but film goers can spot a mile away. Basically, the film could have used some of its own serum to inject life into the film itself. Yeah, The Lazarus Effect, terrible movie.
So much to say about this. First of all, I want to know, what happened to the damn dog, man?
The dog,
That
yes.
dog, he just, I don't know what happened to him. I mean, he just vanished. I'm like, how did he get out of the building? They never mentioned the dog. And like I said, I don't. Yeah, they tried to have, of course, this element of surprise where, try to make scary moments where I guess she realized, she set the place on fire, try to make you, oh my God, get scared. But it's like, really? I mean, that movie was bad in the cast. I mean, good cast.
Good cast, yeah.
I don't know, especially Evan Peters. He's an American Horror Story guy, so he should, I mean, he shouldn't sign up for that. Like, you know what? This is not a good horror concept. And I don't think this movie was scary like at all. I'm trying to, I just don't like. They should use its own serum in this to revive itself. But a lot of questions that were just like, where'd the dog go? They should have focused more on that. I think that would have been more kind of like a Cujo type thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
But they kind of dog just disappeared one day, and it's like, and they just never brought it up, and it just seemed like the movie was just kept losing itself, and by the time it ended, you're just like laughing, like, are you serious? Like, that's the whole movie. I think it was very short too.
Yeah,
man.
it was really short. Yeah.
It was gone in the blink of an eye. Like, you're gone. I remember at the screening, nobody had any effects for this. They're just like, okay. I mean, it started off good. I probably said the first, 10, probably before she died, actually. I think the movie was kind of good just because you kind of felt like, okay, it's a good idea. That's when the dog was alive. It's like, oh man, this can go in a lot of different directions. And I never anticipated that it went the direction that it did, and it's unfortunate that, the Lazar Effect is a good idea, concept in theory, and I wish they would have focused more on that, but guess not.
Well, I would direct our listeners to see Flatliners if they want to see a movie about doctors who develop a way to bring people back to life. That's a much better film. You and I are both critics, and you and I are both, I think, probably you more than me, horror movie fans, right? Yeah. So we know all the tricks. We know what they do to try. We know framing and timing and music, all that stuff, right? So I get that. But I could still recognize when something is done well. It may not scare me, it may not make me jump, but right. I can say, okay, they did that effectively. Now, you were at the screening, I wasn't. Was anyone, were there any jumps, were there any screaming or anything like that?
There was a few, scares, but I mean, most people, you know how most of these scary movies are. People do those little fake screams, but there was a few scenes where people generally, were scared, and so I mean, in that effect, if they got one or two people screaming, in my opinion, then it was effective. But to me, obviously, I was like, of course, the flickering, of course, the music, the camera scenes, it's all going to be the same. Right. So I totally hated this movie. I mean, I told you don't watch it, and you still watched it. So,
but hey, I watched it in the comfort of my own home. So,
all right.
So, yes, but don't put this on your Halloween watch list. Maybe we should do a horror movie show at some point. But anyway,
that sounds a good idea. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, all right. So, having said that, you're number 4, sir.
All right. So going into my number 4 is actually every single horror film this entire year. But what I want to focus on particular is The Visit. Okay, people love this movie. I saw it at Comic-Con, and Shyamalan was there, and I wish you would have asked me at the end of the film what you think, because I probably would have stood up and said this movie was a piece of shit. Now, here goes the problem I have with it. So, as most people, if you guys don't know about The Visit, mom, she sends her 2 kids to go visit their grandparents for the first time, and think after 9:30, shit kind of happens. Grandma runs around butt naked, da-da-da-da. Yeah, I said it, grandma butt naked. Here's the problem I have with the film. So, if you're a parent, so you could probably kind of relate to this. If you're bickering, with your parents and you haven't seen them in, God knows, 15, 20 years, why would you send your children there without letting them know, hey, like, this is what they look like and stuff like that? You know what I mean? And the film never acknowledged why she kind of, sorry, spoiler, but why she never, told them, hey, this is what they look like, this is them, da-da-da-da. Because we all know where this can go wrong. And knowing Shyamalan, there's always a plot twist. And since in the back of my mind, that was always there the whole time. So as the movie progresses, start putting the pieces together, and boom, obviously when it gets to the climax, things happen, and I was not. I already kind of knew because kind of the beginning situation, and the scares were not. I mean, old people are scary in general, I think, but and it just and the guy, the little boy, his little rapping kind of. I thought he was an annoying character. His rapping
Well,
wasn't very.
he was supposed to be annoying. That was the thing.
Yeah, his character wasn't very good. However, there is some good in this movie, although it didn't make my worst list. What I do like is kind of the first time Shyamalan's kind of done a family dynamic where it's grandparents and children dynamic, and I thought the characters literally were kind of annoying. They were. It does show how family dynamics could affect the kids because the girl became kind of self-cautious about herself and the kid became a germaphobe when their parents kind of split up. So I did kind of like how the characters their motivations and how they were written. It's just the way they were portrayed wasn't very good, but I think Shyamalan gotten a lot better character writing per se versus his last film or After Earth. God forbid that one, but overall, as a horror movie, that's the problem. This movie should be marked as a horror movie. If it was a comedy, I think it would have done better, and it probably would have been on my list if it was rated as a comedy. But since it is a horror movie, I didn't find it horrorous at all. And of course, you have the Paranormal Activity camera tilt, which once again we've seen millions of times. So that to me, The Visit is although every horror movie I want to talk about The Visit because it's been getting good reviews, and I don't see why it got good reviews. And I know you kind of liked it.
I did actually. I hear what you're saying about, and I'll have to watch it again to make sure I didn't miss something with the whole identification of the grandparents and all of that. But that aside, I still thought. It was an effective enough thriller where I did not recommend. I recommend seeing it, but I don't recommend going to the theaters to see it. It's not that kind of movie. It's not a big bold movie, but it's definitely a return to form for M. Night. Definitely a return to, I won't say greatness because he'll never do The Sixth Sense or Signs or Unbreakable, but at least he still shows that he knows how to make an effective scary movie. Now, I'll speak out of turn a little bit here. I took my 10-year-old to see it. She goes. I usually take her to see most PG-13 movies, and she doesn't get scared. She doesn't get scared at anything. And there was a part in this movie where she actually got scared. It's kind of funny. And I leaned over to her and I said, "Are you scared?" And she said she didn't want to say it. I said, "You can admit that you're scared. It's fine. If you're scared, just cover your whatever." So I say that to say that even at 10, she's a pro. So she also knows the tricks too, and it got her. But I found the night scenes to be effectively creepy. I found when they were crawling up under the house, they were playing hide and go seek. I found that creepy. I found myself guessing as to I kind of figured what was going on, and since it is M. Night, I won't reveal the big plot twist, but I kind of figured it out, but I honestly didn't care because I was kind of involved with what was going on with them. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Is it the best film of the year? No, not even close. But is it this is a film that I would recommend if it comes out on video before Halloween. I would recommend seeing that then. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I gave it a positive review. I mean, not stellar, but I gave it. And you mentioned the kid in his rapping and it being annoying, and that was the point. He was supposed to be annoying, and he was supposed to be not good at rapping. And I thought that it was so ridiculous that it was endearing because he thought he was good, and we as the audience knows that he's not. His sister, who was wise beyond her years, also knew that he wasn't that good. So I think we definitely split on this one, kind of like Fantastic Four, but I gave it a not enthusiastic thumbs up, but see it at some point, thumbs up. So, all right, so we'll move on. Now we're getting into the nitty gritty of the crap, and I know we saw this, and I'm surprised you haven't mentioned this one yet. So I'll be the bold and first one to mention it. Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
All right, well, this gets both of ours. Mine's also number 3.
Oh, okay.
So talk about it together.
We talk about it together. Okay. So not only is it one of the worst films of the year, it's one of the worst sequels of all time. I mean, it just reeks of uninspiredness, of just, hey, let's do this because the first one made money. It now joins Hangover 2, Grease 2, Staying Alive, Graffiti Bridge, Basic Instinct 2, Caddyshack 2, The Book of Shadows, and Jaws the Revenge is one of the worst sequels of all time. This is one of the most stupidest movies I've ever seen. Again, uninspired. John Cusack, who was in the first film, he got the script, probably said, I'm good.
Wisely.
So, yeah, no. Seriously, guys, I'm good. You can, just don't even worry about me. I said this in my review. If you've exhausted every film on Netflix and have nothing else to watch, wait for more titles to be added. It's that bad. It is that bad. There was one laugh in the film, and it was in the trailer, and I don't care. I'll give it away because it was in the trailer anyway. When Craig Robinson is singing the Lisa Loeb song "Stay," he's doing the video. I thought that was hilarious. That was funny. Other than that, this movie, pardon the pun, dead in the water.
Yeah, like I said, you know me, I'm not big on sequels, especially horror sequels and comedy sequels. Those, because look, both of those are, once you do a formula once, be original, make another. Don't just continue the last and not going to transition. The first one I thought was okay. I mean, it was different. It was good. But this one, right? I don't know why it even got made. The premise was stupid for it. Right. I mean, I just don't. There's really nothing more to say about this movie. I mean, there's nothing memorable about it until once the credits roll. That's the best part of the movie. The credits roll because you're like, yes, I'm done.
Well, even that. Remember they kept like doing different riffs on them going to different places in the future and coming back.
Oh crap! That's right. So that leaves potential for part 3 or part 4, and it's like, oh man. But yeah, this was. I mean, yeah, it's probably. I mean, I wouldn't say it's even with Hot Tub Time. I mean, Hangover 2. I'd say it's in its own category. Bottom of the grave, and pretty much like you said, if you have nothing else on Netflix, personally, if this is on Netflix, nothing else is available, and there's that relative or that friend that you're upset with, I say it's good time to make amends with them. Good time. You can pull out your phone, like, look, who should I make amends with? You're gonna feel a lot better about yourself doing that than wasting an hour or something on this movie. Yeah. So if you're nothing else is on TV. And it's available. Make up with a friend, write a letter to somebody, go out and do charity. I think you'll feel better about yourself doing that than watching this movie.
And again, we talked about this in Get Hard. It's dick and fart jokes. It's dick and gay jokes. It's come on. I mean, comedy is just sometimes just gets to the lowest common denominator. I mean, I like to laugh, and I know you like to laugh. So right. I mean. But let's make something funny. A dude sucking another dude's dick. Sorry, listeners. I mean that's just not funny. It's just not inherently. There's nothing inherently funny about that.
Yeah. Plus, it's 2015, man. We're all equal now. You don't need to keep making these gay jokes. We're all it's equality now.
Yeah.
So it's never was funny in my opinion. But now they keep doing it, like you said, and it's like it's becoming offensive to a point now. Like we're all equal now. Just make a joke we can all laugh on rather than people who, are straight. You know what I mean? And it's 2015. Let's make new jokes, people.
All right.
Donald Trump's always a good guy to make jokes about. There you go.
All right. This moment of social commentary brought to you by Cinema Stinger. All right. So let's. My number 2, I've already skewered it, but let me remind people. My number 2 is the morally reprehensible and offensive Chappie. I will say the name no more. So let's move on. Your number 2, sir.
My number 2, and I'm pretty sure you avoided this movie like all of America, but Paul Blart, have you seen the second one?
No.
Oh man. Yeah, this is worse. I mean, worse off the time machine. I mean, this is its own. I mean, its own category. This was by far the most boring movies, pointless, senseless. Any negative connotation you could think of, insert here to describe this movie. Um, and pretty much, here's what I would say: if I was given a choice of being stuck in an elevator with someone with bad breath and have to breathe that air for 24 hours, or sit through 5 minutes of this movie, I'll take the elevator breath over this any day of the week. And Kevin James, I don't know, what's going on with you, man. If you're struggling, I mean, maybe we could talk about it. But this movie was absolutely atrocious. I mean, it's just atrocious. I mean, there's really nothing more to say. I mean, I think the movie has like a 3% right now. I don't even know what the rating of it is, but yeah, I saw it actually when I was in Vegas. I was like, I'm in Vegas. It filmed in Vegas. It screens. Let me go. Boy, I thought about all the people I could have been involved with instead of this movie, and I wasted my hour, my time.
So. Yeah, think of all the strip clubs you could have gone to.
Exactly, I wasted my time watching Kevin James. So.
Okay, I didn't see it, but I'll say this: I did see the first one, and I thought it was, as you said, reprehensible. It was stupid. The whole movie is he's fat. That's it. That's the movie. I'm like, oh, that's all you got? Fat jokes for an hour and a half? Okay. And it was a Die Hard spoof, and I won't get on my soapbox here, but I'm a big Die Hard Bruce Willis guy, and you don't parody Die Hard unless you coming with it, right? So, yes, I did. Now, trade secrets again. We have choices of what movies we go to see. We're given a list of screenings, and we pick which ones we go to. And I've kind of gotten into the habit now of not wasting my time going to see something I know I'm not going to like. Plus, I have a rule, too. If I'm seeing a sequel, I make it a point to go back and watch the first movie. There was no way in hell I was going to go back and watch Paul Blart Mall Cop. So if missing the sequel meant skipping out of the first one, I'm okay with that decision. So, yes, so I can, although I haven't seen it, I can co-sign 100% with Mr. Stinger here. Avoid anything that says Paul Blart in it. All right, now, we may actually be in agreement at number one, because you haven't mentioned this movie yet. So, my number one worst movie of the year stars Mr. Magic Mike himself, Channing Tatum, and Mila Kunis. That film would be Jupiter Ascending.
And yes, we are in agreement that this film, I think we saw it together.
We did see it together.
Saw it together. Yeah, well, I'll let you go ahead with the floor, sir.
Okay, well, for those that may have missed it, I'll give a brief synopsis, because the plot's not going to make any sense anyway. And I'm going to read this verbatim this is from the press kit. When Jupiter Jones was born, there were signs that she was going to be a special child. Though as an adult, her life is less than special, as she has a job as a house cleaner with her Russian family. Russian, remember that word, it's going to come into play later. It somehow seems that Jupiter's genetic profile matches a woman who ruled one of the most dominant ruling families in the universe. Not Earth, not Russia, but the universe. Okay. One faction wants her dead, one faction wants her alive. Kane, played by Channing Tatum, a professional tracker who is sent to Earth, is caught between his original mission of trying to capture Jupiter, and Kane is fully human except for a bit of wolf DNA. This enhances his skills and at the same time limits him from being completely normal. He eventually decides to protect Jupiter from Balaam, played horribly by Eddie Redmayne, who's put a bounty on Jupiter's head because, well, at this point it really doesn't matter. Predictably, Jupiter and Kane fall in love as the scene shifts from Chicago to the far reaches of the universe. That's the plot, and even reading that, it's still incomprehensible. And this is the press kit. This is what the press sends us to kind of make our notes from and things from the movie. I battled between this and Chappie being the worst film of the year. Honestly, Chappie is a worse film, but at least Chappie had two moments where I was engaged and somewhat enjoying myself. I was never engaged in in Jupiter Ascending from the word go. It is horrible. The 3D is terrible. The action is terrible. It's long. It's 2.5 hours of incomprehensible bliff. I'm just making up a word now because I can't even think of a word to use it. There's nothing redeeming about it at all. I know these actors nowadays, they want to be in these franchises where, everybody wants a Matrix, everybody wants a Hunger Games, everybody wants, Twilight. Every actor's on the phone with their agent saying, get me a franchise. Well, they both should have been on the phone with their agent saying, get me another franchise. I took Palmer, my 10-year-old, I took her to see this, right? She fell asleep I don't know if you remember this, but she fell asleep about 15 minutes into it. And I kind of wish I had followed her lead and slept right along with her. This is two hours that I'll never get back.
Yeah, and like I said, remember the worst part about it is this movie got delayed because I guess they were redoing it or reshoots. I don't know the reason for getting delayed,
It got delayed because it was bad.
yeah. Let's be honest, right? I wish the studios were honest with us and just say we're afraid of going against this movie, whatever. But yeah, this movie I thought it was hysterical. I mean, seeing Channing Tatum and I don't know what he was doing and rollerblading, I was like, what? I mean, this movie just, yeah. I mean,
he was wearing the hover shoes from Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, like hover shoes, and he's wearing these little wolf ears, and I was just like, this movie was. I mean, good cast. I mean, I was wondering, well, how do they all, especially Eddie
Redmayne, Oscar winner, right? I mean,
Oscar winner. He kept sounding like this the whole movie, and I was like, what are you doing? But yeah, it was just, I mean, laughable. I was the first one. I took my coworker to, and I remember, yeah. I apologized to him for a week straight. I'm so sorry that movie was bad. I mean, I kept apologizing to him, like, man, I know it's free, but I'm sorry you wasted 2 hours of your time. And he's just like, yeah, it's cool, but I just felt so bad. That's the death sentence seeing someone.
Oh, you remember? I do remember why it started late. The studio reps, they forgot it was in 3D. Remember?
Oh yes,
remember
that's right.
The movie started; it was all blurry. We were like, what?" and so they had to go get 3D glasses and hand them all out to everybody that was sitting in the theater, waiting to watch this thing. So I think it was delayed by like a half hour, which I mean, it wouldn't have mattered. It could have, what? We could have watched it blurry like that, and may have probably would have enjoyed it more than what we got. So there you have it, folks. Did you anything else on that before we?
No, that's
okay. All
right. Nothing more needs to be said.
Okay, well, so for those that have short-term memory, Mr. Stinger, why don't you go ahead and just run through your top 10 again real quick?
Yeah. My number 10 was Jurassic World. Then we jumped to number 9, The Perfect Guy. Number 8 is Hot Pursuit. Number 7 is Chappie. Number 6, we had American Ultra. Number 5, we had Get Hard. Number 4, I said every horror movie, but I focused mainly on The Visit. Number 3 was Don't Waste Your Time, Hot Tub Time Machine. Number 2 was Disastrous Ball Blart. And number 1 was Jupiter, God, Why'd You Make This Movie? Ascending.
All right, and well, real quick before I run through mine, it's funny. We typically think we disagree a lot. We have 5, well, actually 7, because I'm going to count. We got Hot Pursuit, Chappie, American Ultra, Get Hard, Hot Tub, Time Machine 2, Paul Blart, and Jupiter Ascending. That's like 7 films. Anyway, all right. So here are my picks. Number 10, The Boy Next Door. Number 9, Hot Pursuit. Number 8, Terminator Genesis. Number 7, Spy. Number 6, The Fantastic Four. Number 5, American Ultra. Number 4, Lazarus Effect. Number 3, Hot Tub Time Machine 2. Number 2, Chappie. And number 1, Jupiter Ascending. Now, I did want to, and I don't know if you have any, just real quick, make mention of my dishonorable mentions. There are a couple films that I'd like to give a symbolic middle finger to. Those would be The Loft and The Longest Ride and Mordecai.
Mordecai. That's a good option. For myself, I put Pixels and The Cobbler on there as my dishonorable mentions, and amongst others. But those are the two that really I was trying to judge him in. I was gonna probably put him with Paul Blart, the whole Kevin James, Adam Sandler thing, but I think Paul Blart deserved its own segment there. So,
which coincidentally, Adam Sandler, well, he made your dishonorable. He did not make my worst list this year so far. I don't know if he has another movie coming out. That's a first. I found Pixels to be dumb but entertaining enough to not say it was the worst movie. But I like the premise. The premise saved the day more than Sandler. So there you have it, folks. About 13 or so films to avoid at all costs. Some of these are probably available on Netflix or Redbox, but why waste the dollar? They're more better films that you can watch watch. So real quick, tell them where they can find you online.
All right, so I can be found online. My website is cinemastinger.com. Also on Twitter as well at Cinema Stinger. Also, you can search on Facebook for my Facebook page. Also, it's also Cinema Stinger as well. And I try, people don't know my views. I try to put, a lot more humor and just a lot more, uncensored stuff. I mean, we all have different audiences. For me, I just like to I see films a different way and a unique way. And I like to put a lot of humor in my reviews. That's kind of the focal point of my reviews. So if you want to laugh or you just want brutal honesty, my reviews I think something you'll enjoy. So what about yourself? Where can people find you?
All right, you can find me several places seems like all over the web. I'm on Twitter at HillStreetViewz. Also Facebook under Sean Hill, the personal account, or Real Movie Talk, REEL, then Movie Talk. And also a blog that I write and post my reviews, hillstreetviews.blogspot.com. And from time to time, I get together with a group of guys and we do geek stuff, although I'm personally not a geek, but I still get together and commiserate with them on Saturdays. We have a show, podcastjuice.net, so I'm there as well. So that concludes this show, ladies and gentlemen. This has been our worst list of the year. Check us out. We're also going to be doing the worst list on another show, or I'm sorry, the best. Yes, thank you. Best list on another show. So definitely check that out. Until then, we'll see you at the movies. I'm gonna steal that from Siskel and Ebert. Peace out.
Peace.